Hello, take a walk with me. When I was in Birmingham, I had a very stimulating drunken discourse in the Briar Rose. And that discourse quickly led to, of course, capitalism and socialism and leftism and rightism and all that stuff. And I'm someone who says not one single system is ever perfect in what it does. And it is never perfect in how it does it. Instead, we should look at different ways of doing these. And in the end, I brought my very popular argument. It's actually not the system itself, but the way that it is set up. Because every system sounds good on paper. That's how they get employed. That's how communism made it in the Soviet Union, in Russia. That's how socialism made it in Venezuela. That's how capitalism made it in the US. Because it sounded good on paper, and it was good on paper. The problem is just always the people and the structures that they erect. And the structures are often centralistic in nature. Now, I want to give you a quick overview of what centralism is. Centralism is if all the power and all the resources are centralized, aggregated, accumulated at one point, or at very few points. And these few points are often controlled by very few people. So we have the problem that few people rule over the entire rest. It's just always how it ends up. And we have that, for example, in the US with both the capitalism there and the political system. Because you get automatically all of the political power if you just get 51% of the votes, or actually less, 51% of the electoral votes, of the electoral college votes. If you play your cards right and win in the right states, you can actually win with, what was it that I think GCP Grey said, with just 27% or something like that, you can win 27%. A very small number. So you get all the power. Congratulations. You just, it's not even a tyranny of the many, tyranny of the majority. That's tyranny of a handful of people that you can actually control. That's also the problem with the European Union, because we can actually control who rules us. We can actually elect the European government. We can only elect something that looks like a government but is actually more like an opposition. And everything else is handled by other people completely to their own liking. So that's centralism. Few people ruling over a lot. Authoritarianism also goes hand in hand with that, because authoritarianism is the belief that authority must be absolutely obeyed and cannot be defied. So when you already have absolute power, you better make sure that the people respect that power and listen to you, because otherwise what's the point? Power begets power, as some people like to say. So let's look at the capital side of that in the US. And there we have very few corporations capable of controlling the entire industry. Whatever they want, they can just do whatever they want, because there's no real competition. There's just a few of their daughter companies squabbling amongst each other. Look at China. It's even worse there. Because the rich and the powerful control the entire political system. Because a few people sit at the center, they can be as corrupt as they want. And if they are corrupt, they do a massive damage, because they sit at the right position to do a lot of damage. And that is actually sort of an antithesis to capitalism, or at least the free market. And I love the free market. The free market is great. You can just, choose wherever you want to buy stuff from. That's pretty good. So, because a few companies, a few rich people control the industry and the government, there is no free market because the market is not free. It is not capable of doing whatever it wants. And you get the problem that you always get. Cunts. Cunts everywhere. Just can't get rid of them. Once they're in the system, you can't get rid of them anymore. It's like fungus in the tubes. I'll have to rip the entire thing out and rewire everything. And now I want to come to more current events. I mean, okay, the election is kind of a current event, but what I'm talking about is, of course, YouTube and Twitter. God damn it, if it ever ends, I'll be happy. YouTube and Twitter have absolute market dominance. Now, for Twitter, there are several alternatives. For example, there's GNU Social, which, as I mentioned, I'm on loadaverage.com. Problem is just, it's not very good. I mean, it's a great system. Everybody can do like their own, their own server and stuff. But it doesn't work properly most of the time. It doesn't really have a big community. Of course, you can look for a lot of people, but it hasn't this open thing, this open community where you're just flooded with different accounts and can discover and explore. You gotta be very lucky. Then there's gap.io, which, as far as I heard, is very centralistic. There are a few people who are controlling a lot of who gets in and who gets to say what, and there's a vetting process. I don't know if they'll do away with that, because as far as I know, they're beta right now. And then there's minds.com. I'm on minds.com too, by the way, as usual, as King Gaze. And it's making money. You can buy points. You get points for just, regularly being on there and doing stuff. I think that's a good thing. That's a good start if it makes money. It's very clean. It has a good app on Android. It works. It's good. And well, that's about it, isn't it? And that still doesn't really challenge Twitter's market power. Of course, Twitter has been falling in its stocks for a very long time now. And let's now come to YouTube, because YouTube doesn't really have any challengers. There's some content that's being hosted on Vimeo, and there's some content that's being hosted on Twitch, but they're not really rivals now, are they? No, they're not. And the problem is YouTube is just too big, because for video hosting you need a lot of big servers. So maybe the solution is something actually similar to GNU Social, where everyone can just put up their own server and define their own monetization and marketing and advertisement terms of services. That would be cool. But you still need a central hub, because that's why people go to Twitter or to YouTube, because it's a central hub for any kind of content. You can find any kind of content. You can find series and movies, entire movies on YouTube. So, how do you break that power? Well, with a centralized hub for a decentralized network. And maybe a centralized hub is sort of, yes, I know, a sort of centralized search engine for videos on the entire web, or maybe on a few selected websites, which automatically embeds all the videos. Of course, the provider can always opt out of being embedded. YouTube does it already selectively. And, well, it would be a start that you wouldn't go to YouTube to find videos, but rather to an alternative website that doesn't host any videos but shows you the way where to watch it. And if it had just a teeny tiny social media aspect to it, that would be great. For example, if you could just log on with your Google account, which many websites do. I mean, why not? Well, to be honest, I'm not a specialist in these kinds of things, of course, obviously. I just pitched an idea out of the blue. But what I'm trying to say with this is, in order to make this happen, we all need to pitch in. We all need to do our part. And maybe, come up with the idea. Join alternative networks like Minds. Get big people to join Minds. Minds.com. Or Gab.io if that's more your thing. Or GNU Social. Make big people join it because people gravitate towards the celebrities. That would be a great way to make this network grow, because it needs to be able to challenge the centralist power of YouTube and Twitter. And ideally, it should also not be an overly centralist system itself. So, yeah. Oh, actually, I just remembered, Minds.com is, as far as I know, open source. It's on GitHub, so technically you can make your own. And maybe it can actually become something better than GNU Social, because I think the code of GNU Social isn't that good. It doesn't look and feel smooth. So maybe you can create a cross-network with Minds.com and whatever you want to do with Minds, with the Minds source code. So, yeah, good that I remembered that. I'm not far enough into the woods to maybe meet some bears, so I'm gonna wrap this up and enjoy the nature a bit more. And I will see you soon. And until then, stay keen.